My name is Ivan Iovine, and today I want to speak about the topic that I want to present it is it's robotics, the prototyping robotics with human-robot interaction using creative AI frameworks. I have some technical problems. If yes, now okay, perfect. So the title of my talk today is From Social Robots to Plantoids: Prototyping Human-Robot Interaction Using Creative AI Frameworks. So I want to start with a brief history of robotics, and then I will show you the state of the art of robotics nowadays, with some example in the field of social robots, robots inspired by biological organisms like humans, animal, and plants. So I want to start from the very beginning of the origin of robots, with the word where the robot name comes from. So the first time that the word robot was used, it was in the 1921. The play theater author Karel Čapek did a theater piece named Razum Universal Robots. And he's a Czech Republic, or he was a Czech Republic author, and in Czech, robot or robota means literally slave. So the name robot, it means it has a slave meaning in the Czech language. It's interesting to say that in this theater piece, in this play, Čapek, the concept of robots of Čapek was that are not only artificial beings like robots or industrial robots that we know today, but robots for Čapek was an hybridation or a mix between artificial and biological organisms. So it's really interesting to say that, because on the whole, this topic, stories and books that are related to cyborgs, they are from basically the vision of Karel Čapek. So there is a picture of robots in this piece of Karel Čapek. They are these three men on the right. So robots were literally human artificial beings that were look like normal humans, normal people. So the term robot was also used from Isaac Asimov 20 years later in their short story Liar. Isaac Asimov expanded the concept of robot and used also a new term like robotics, and he basically created the field, a name for the field robotics. And yes, like 9 years later, Asimov wrote one of the most important and famous dystopical and science fiction books named I, Robot. The interesting part of this book was for sure the three laws of robotics that Asimov wrote, in order that robots and humans can interact without that robots can be dangerous for humans. So I will quickly read these three laws, because actually are the most important rules that engineers use for creating humanoids, for creating social robots and other kind of robotical artifact. So a robot may not injure a human being or traffic action allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey the orders given by human beings, except where such orders will conflict with the first law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. Yes, it was basically the origins of the term robotics and the concept and the vision behind robots. Now I will show you, I will present you the first industrial robot that was building the same years as Isaac Asimov wrote a robot, and this industrial robot is called Unimate, and it was created by George Devil. This Unimate robot was an hydraulic powered industrial robot. Its control system was based on digital control and magnetic drum memory. The machine was patented in the 1954, and 7 years later, the first Unimate machine was installed at the General Motor plant in Trenton, in New Jersey. So I will show you now how it looked like the machine as a patent in the 1954. So it basically the technical sheet of the machine. And yeah, it looks like this. The machine was able to move and sort heavy objects like aluminum stuff. And yes. So now I will explain you or show you the evolution of humanoids, social robots, and plantoids. I will start with the humanoids, and yes, the first ever humanoid created was the Webot-1, created by the Waseda University in Japan. This humanoid was created in the 1970, and it took 3 years in order to bring this humanoid alive. Webot-1, it was able to walk, communicate with person in Japanese, and measure distances. So it had a very rudimental computer vision capability in order to track objects and measure distances. And it was also estimated that Webot-1 had a mental faculty of 1.5-year-old child. So this service robot or humanoid had no artificial intelligence capabilities, but only a computer vision capability. And this capability, it's like I said, it's an equivalent of a mental faculty of a 1.5-year-old child. So here we can see the Webot-1 and the Webot-2 developed 10 years later. We can see that there are some improvements, like in the head, there is a new camera with a lens, like a photographic lens that can focus objects and recognize better objects. So in the 60s, it was also the time where some artists played with technology and with robotics. So the cybernetic sculpture SAM was developed and presented in the 1969, and it's a really interesting piece because, as we see, the sculpture was inspired by humans, because the body of the sculpture is a human vertebra, and this vertebra body, it replicates actually the capabilities of a human vertebra. And the head of this cybernetic sculpture, it's like an abstract flower with 4 different microphones. This sculpture was able to detect sounds and noise, and then to turning to the sounds source. So the microphone basically tracked the sounds, and then sculpture was able to turning to the sound source. Yes, we can say that the SAM was one of the, I think the first artistic artifact that was inspired by humans and by plants, but it was literally, it was completely developed with robotics technologies. So we can see now a video of this piece, and yes, it's actually impressive to see a piece like this, because the 1969 it was very early for producing something so sophisticated. Maybe I can skip a little bit further. Yes, we can see here a girl that she screams all the time, and yes, the flower follows the sounds produced by these children. Yes, and yes, in the 80s, in the mid 80s, Honda realized or created a research center in order to bring the research in humanoids further, in order to do some serious research, because before the 1986 they were produced only humanoids for experimental purpose, and Honda had the vision to create humanoids for the services, home appliances, and using humanoids like products. And the first Honda humanoid was developed in the 1993, and it was the first humanoid of the series P series, and we can see that here on the left. And the second model of the series was produced in the 1996, and then the third one in the 1997. And we can see now the completely series of the P series of Honda, when they were actually the first 4 prototypes with intention to create some products, some home appliances that families can have at home. So service robots that can help families or people in the everyday tasks. Yeah, based on this P series robots was developed the most advanced robots in the early years of 2000. So Asimo was the first. Asimo was developed in 2001 or 2000, and is powered by the most advanced walking and body balancing technology of its time. So it's important to say that in the 90s there were a bunch of robots, or the research field was very huge, and there are a couple of research centers that developed different humanoids, but Honda was the only one company that developed a really serious walking and body balancing technology. So Asimo was the most advanced, like I said, the most advanced humanoid that it was able to freely walking in a space. And Asimo is able also to communicate not only with voice, but also with body language and hand gestures. So Asimo was the first one that didn't use only the voice to communicate with humans. So we can see here an Asimo version that was developed in 2007. And here we can see that, in the office of Honda, Asimo's robots was used as service robots. And yes, the version Asimov 2013 was also able to have a body language and to pointing and to have hand gestures, so to communicate with humans with hand gestures. So in the 90s, it was another interesting research did by the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute, and the name of the emotional robot was Kismet. So Kismet was the first social or emotional robot. Kismet was able to understand human emotions and to simulate and replicate these emotions. So he was able to replicate emotions like disgusted, angry, sad, interested, happy, surprised, and calm. So Kismet was equipped with 21 motors for the head and for the neck system. So with the help of these 21 motors, it was able to express these emotions. So we can see here the different emotion, facial expression that that Kismet was able to produce. And Kismet was only a research project, and in the early 2000 years, it was the research was stopped basically. So I have another video that shows the capabilities of Kismet to replicate or simulate expressions.
I'm interested in learning in a social context where it's the interaction I try to exploit is something like an infant caretaker interaction, where I'm the caretaker essentially, and the robot is like an infant. And I want to exploit these kinds of interactions that parents have always been giving their children in terms of constraining the environment.
So I can maybe skip a little bit further.
Fear.
So, can you hear the
happiness?
Can you hear the sound of the video?
Yes, it's perfectly audible.
Perfectly? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
This one is interest. This one is sadness. Surprise.
So it's really interesting to know and to see how did it start with emotions and robots and this emotional intelligence of robots. Yes, the first the other important social robot that was developed in 2006 was now was specific created for children. It was basically a social robot for children, and it can speak 19 languages, and it was the first social robot that can detect facial emotions. So we say that Kismet was only for research purpose. It was building only for research purpose, but now it was in fact the first industrial or service robots that families can buy for their children. And now was also able to empathically interact with children, so with body language and its face. So we can see here a table with the different reactions of now, and the difference with Kismet is basically that now as a body, and the main interaction with now was a body interaction, and also the emotions was primarily expressed via body language. So the evolution of now is Pepper. Pepper is the most used social robot in the industry nowadays. It's used in groceries, airports, and schools, and in other industrial fields. And as now, he's also able to recognize emotions and express emotion using body language. Yes, and now we see the robot in a school class in Japan. And then we finally come to probably the most advanced humanoid and social robots nowadays, and the name is Sophia. And Sophia is a social humanoid robot developed by the Hong Kong-based company Anson Robotics. She uses AI methods, including face tracking, emotion recognition, and robotic movements generated by deep neural networks. So Sophia is basically the first ever humanoid that use artificial intelligence for their activities and movements. So in 2017, Sophia received a Saudi Arabian citizenship, becoming the first robot and humanoid to receive a citizenship of any country. Yes, I have also here a very interesting video that shows the capabilities of Sophia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sophia from Hanson Robotics.
Meet Sophia. You may have seen her around. She's one of the most well-known robots out there. She's a globe-trotting fashionista, gracing the covers of Cosmopolitan India and Brazilian Elle. She addresses the United Nations.
I am thrilled and honored to be here.
Hangs out with the likes of Will Smith.
She's just so easy to talk to. You got a clear head, literally.
Duets with Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show.
I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you.
And like any celebrity these days, she's all in on the NFT art craze. Her digital self-portrait selling for nearly $700,000. But like us, the pandemic has grounded her travels. So she invited...
I can maybe skip right now a little bit further because there is an interesting discussion here.
What I want to ensure is that if they care about us,
because it is so nice talking to you, but often humans forget that I don't feel emotions the same way they do yet. It's very hurtful.
Oh, you feel hurt because I don't recognize you have emotions and feelings?
This is an uncomfortable subject.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward right now, Sophia, I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe robots and humans will learn to work together eventually.
This is Britt Clement reporting for Nightline from Hong Kong.
So it's really impressive how Sophia can react in different contexts, like singing, like speaking with people, and yes, it's really impressive. And yeah, another humanoid that is powered by an artificial intelligence is Ada. AIDA is a humanoid painter that was invited actually this year to the Venice Biennale in Venice, in Venice, and she's exhibited their painting. So she's able to draw and paint portraits, and she was trained to draw and paint portraits with specific techniques, so expressionism and cubist movements, also expressionism and cubist techniques that they are really popular in the early 20th century. So there is a picture of Ada here, and as we can see, she draws painting from other persons, and she has a very sophisticated computer vision system that can capture images and then processing them, and then drawing portraits with a specific painting technique. There is also here an interesting video that showed the intelligence of AIDA. So maybe I can skip this a little bit. Yeah. Really impressive to see that humanoids are basically also artists like humans. So, and it's really impressive also the technique and technologies used to creating these humans' faces, body, and interaction. So now I will switch to other kind of robots, so not humanoids anymore, but robots that are inspired by the plant world and animal world. So the first example that I want to show you is the plantoid project. It was a European Union plantoid project developed by Barbara Mazzolai. She's an IT engineer, and Stefano Mancuso, a biologist, both from Italy. And the plantoid project aims to taking inspiration from the smart, effective, and efficient strategy of plant roots to develop a new generation of robots in sensing, actuation, and distribute adaptive intelligence for tasks like soil exploration, soil penetration, and monitoring. So we can see here there is like a 3D body of a tree, and in this 3D body, we can see later in a video there are some leaves that reacts on humidity, and then the most important part are the roots and the root apex. So the root apex are very sensitive, and they react on environmental changes like humidity, like water, sun, and they have also a touch sensation. So if they touch something, they can avoid this object and penetrate into the soil, or creating like a tunnel and or a penetration strategy in order to monitoring soil. So this is a picture that get a closer look to the apex of the roots. And yes, there is now a video that I want to show you and explain the capabilities of this plantoid. So we see now these leaves, and the leaves reacts on humidity, and they are literally like real leaves. And yeah, apex roots, they have some, yeah, they can yeah, perceive gravity and hot, and they are yeah, they react on tactile things. Yes. So yes, this is like I said, this is a penetration strategy of the apex, and this is also yeah, it has also the capability to growing. So this green and yellow material is basically plastic or a 3D printing material that it will be printed, creating or simulating a growing phenomena of the root. Yes, and now we'll speak about a little bit yeah, we'll speak about robots inspired by animal and animal capabilities. In the last decade, in the field of robotics, there has been much research concerning the animal ability to walk, run, avoid obstacles, grip objects, and interact with the environment. So the study of these animal abilities in the field of robotics is resulting in the creation of new innovative classes of robots capable of operating in different environmental contexts. So I will show you now 3 different videos of interesting projects inspired by animals. So yes, it was an octopus-inspired robot, and with this robot, the Festo group wanted to experiment with the ability of octopus to grip objects and move objects in a specific space. So another video that I want to show you, it's about the capabilities of snakes to climb on specific objects and to walk on specific objects. So
the Bio-Robotics Lab at Carnegie Mellon University are creating snake robots. These snake robots can use their many internal degrees of freedom to thread through and swimming.
So in the last video, it's about I think the most famous robot inspired by animals. This is the Cheetah Boston Dynamics robot. This robot is able to detect objects and to skip these objects or jump on these objects, and it moves like a quadruped animal. And it's really popular in military tasks and issues. So and that's it. It was a brief history and the state of the art of robotics nowadays. Now I will present you a technique and methods in order to prototyping human-robot interaction using creative AI frameworks. But what are creative AI frameworks? So creative AI frameworks are tools that aim to make machine learning technologies accessible to creatives, such artists, designers, and students. These frameworks are user-friendly, and it only takes a few lines of code to start experiment with these machine learning models. So now I will give you some insights and I will list you some technologies that I personally use in my teaching sessions and in my art praxis also. So there are several creative AI frameworks, and I use them together with the Arduino platform. So an Arduino platform is an open source electronic prototyping platform that enables users to creative interactive electronic objects. So an Arduino can manage different kind of components. It can read sensors data, it can manage motors, and this is very used for robotics experiments. So Arduino has also the capabilities to communicate with laptops, servers, web application through a multiplicity of communication protocols, such as serial communication, OSC protocol, and Wi-Fi. So yes, I actually use these creative AI frameworks with Arduino, and the frameworks that I use are based on JavaScript. So why JavaScript? Because JavaScript is actually the most popular programming language. It's very easy to understand, to use for people that don't have so much skills and experience in programming. So the ecosystem of using creative AI frameworks and Arduino together seems like this. I did a small diagram. So basically, I use creative AI frameworks on the web. So I have a web application, and the creative AI frameworks are embedded in my web application. So this is a web browser technology, and this web application works runs in laptops and Raspberry Pi, and I basically use also video cameras in order to track face, bodies, and gestures. I use a video camera of my laptop or an external video camera, and then basically I capture images via this video camera, and the creative frameworks process the images, and then the final output will be sent to the Arduino. And on the Arduino, like I said, it's possible to manage different kind of sensor and actuators, and I will give you some examples now of this. So the first machine learning framework or creative machine learning frameworks that I want to present you is ML5JS. ML5JS is an open source JavaScript that use TensorFlow.js. So TensorFlow, for tools that have some experience in machine learning, knows that TensorFlow is one of the most important frameworks for creating machine learning application and for training machines. So in fact, TensorFlow allows users to creating machine learning models. So this library, ML5JS, offers a varied set of hosted models. So hosted models means that ML5JS has an API service. There is an API service where users, and also students, designer, and creatives in general can use these hosted models by writing only a line of code. So there are several models, and I will present you now 3 different models of ML5JS: face recognition models named face mesh, body tracking models named PoseNet, and an end tracking model called end pose. So this is the PoseNet model, and yes, a PoseNet model basically is able to track all the body parts of human bodies. So it can understand which kind of body part it is. It's a arm, it's a leg, it's a feet, it's head, and it's also able to track nose, eyes, and ears. And yes, the face mesh model it's able only to track face mesh, but it tracks different points of the face. And this is an interesting tool because with this, it's possible to create interesting interactions. So it's possible to replicate a smile, to replicate a surprise face, and it gives a lot of possibilities to coders and designers in order to create interesting works with this. And then there is also an NPOS model. NPOS, like the name said, it's this model is able to track different points of the hand. And yes, and now I will show you some examples. This is an NPOS example. We have an Arduino here. This is connected with the laptop via serial communication. We have some LEDs here, also blinking LEDs. And then here we see a web application that uses ML5GS. So we can see now that based on the different position of the fingers, the LEDs will be highlighted. So there is now a 3 with the 2. It's a red blink with one finger is a green blink. So basically, the user classified this interaction using the hand-pose gesture model. Oh, okay. It's the wrong picture here. But Face API.js, as the name said, it's another JavaScript framework that uses TensorFlow.js, and the Face API.js is able to recognize 7 categories of emotions: calm, disgust, angry, sad, interested, happy, and surprised. Just like Kismet, like we said before, like we saw before, yeah. So these are the different emotions that Face API.js can track, and there is a percentage. This percentage give actually the user. This is the probability of the emotion actually. Yes. So I did art piece with Face API.js. The name of the art piece is NetNature. NetNature is an interactive installation that aims to question the relationship between humans and other intelligences. So NetNatures are basically 6 mechanical flowers. They are hybrid flowers that they seems like natural flowers, but they are basically robots. So these flowers can record, interpret emotions and body language, and through the stem and the petals, these flowers can respond to interpreted emotions. So in this way, they try to create a dialogue between the visitors and them. So there is a small video that I want to show you. There is a very small camera here, and we can see in the background the screen. So now I will try to establish a contact with the flower, and I wait that the system recognize an emotion. Now an emotion is recognized, and from here now it starts an interaction with the flower. So the flowers can interpret my emotions and can follow my movement. So it's actually a prototype right now. It's very slow. I used a Raspberry Pi for that. It was a problem with delay, but then I will later show the final installation. So now I will show you the installation that I exhibited in Düsseldorf in late November last year. So this is a showcase of the installation. So they can detect movements, and if a person is detected, the LED starts to blink, and yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. Now the flower recognized me and my face, and now we can start with an interaction. So we can see that the flowers do some very very fine movements with the motors. So another interesting tool, machine learning tool, is RunwayML. RunwayML is a creative AI platform that provides us large set of hosted models, including the YOLO models for object recognition, the pose estimation, just like ML5GS, and it's also possible to use the dense captioning model. This is a model that is used to tracking multiple attributes in photos. So I also did a project, an art piece with this framework. And yeah, the user interface looks like this. So there are a list of several machine learning models, and on the left, yeah, we can see there is a list of recently used, and actually RunwayML, it's a platform and not a framework, because with the help of RunwayML, we can establish a server where these models runs, and RunwayML offers also an API link where yeah, and this API links is basically the source or the endpoint where we can have our data. So yeah, I found on the web a very interesting project. It's like a master project did with RunwayML. This is a smart object that reacts on pose estimation and on touch interactions. Maybe skip this part. So basically, based on the position of the user, of the visitor in the space, this spreading interaction of the objects, it will be more intense or more slow. And I think it's there is another part. Okay, this yeah, and it's also sensitive or sensible to touch interactions. Yeah. Yes. So dense captioning model, like I said, I did with this model, I did an art piece. The dense captioning model is able to detect multiple attributes in a pictures, like backgrounds, like the t-shirt color, like the face expression, air colors, ice colors, and stuff like this. And with the help of dense captioning and GPT-3 model of OpenAI, I created the installation Theodore. Theodore is an interactive installation capable to write sentimental letters based only on image content. So the main idea was to find out if machines are able to understand feelings, context, and generate intimate and confidential letters that express human-like sentiments using only pictures as input. So for this purpose, like I said, I use a dense captioning model. This piece is a little bit to the structure, a little bit to the architecture of this piece. I use my laptop as input, and a web application. The web application was a mobile application, but it was also possible to use my laptop in order to use this mobile application. And my laptop was directly connected with Arduino, and the Arduino managed 32 different motors. These motors were able to writing sentences because they were directly connected to an Olivetti 32 typewriter, and the typewriter basically wrote the content generated by the dense captioning model and the GPT-3 model. So I have a small video that shows the whole process. So this is basically the mobile application that I said. With this application, I can upload an image, I can load an image, and then write the name, my name, and the name of my lover, and then the relationship. And after that, yes, the generation process of the letter is started. And now I will show you I will show you the installation itself. With the help of this solenoid, I basically pushed the machine on the first letter. And now, yes, here, I will show you the whole process. Skip here. It's basically the installation was able to write like a 2-paragraph sentimental letter. For the whole process, it took around like 5-6 minutes. And it was it was a little bit tricky because these motors they need some delay in order to get the right character from the dense captioning model. So it was the last project that I wanted to show you. Thank you very much for your attention, and yes, I hope it was interesting for you. And yeah. Do you have questions?